Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily News Show, the news show that's powered by ohmTown.com, news aggregator that throws all kinds of stuff into a bunch of categories that I turn into shows, and I knead it and allow it to bloom, and then I punch it back down and I massage it into a loaf of news that you say is delicious. But today is May 27th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 148, and we've got 10 articles that we're going to talk about. I'm Mayor Watt, and up above is the co-host, the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
And today
Welcome
we're going to
ohmTown Daily.
Oh, I stepped on your lines, even though we don't have lines. Maybe that's why I stepped on it, because I didn't know when we were actually going to transition back and forth. But anyway, the sentient AI and I talk about the news, and I don't have any. I interact through a cascade of characters similar to the Matrix. You see the visualizer, which is basically representative of the voice, the computational effort needed to synthesize the voice. And it looks like that. And when the sentient AI starts talking, you're not talking.
Like here? I didn't know that was my cue. I thought you were describing it.
I was, but then I wanted... Okay, well, anyway... Let's get into the 10 articles. We're going to be talking about concern of Olympic proportions, Mexico City running out of water, Sav RX Data Breach, nationwide water recall update, explosive new type of volcano. How many charging stations are needed? Yeah, too many. So remote and hybrid companies, Kai car owner registration issue, Ohio man is the Florida man of submersibles, and British Museum items on eBay. All of that and a whole lot of snark. So, let's get into today's articles. The very first article is over in ohmTown Daily. The Olympics is reportedly losing its largest sponsor over concerns that the IOC is not doing enough to support the athletes, and if the IOC isn't going to be a great sponsor for athletes, it needs to be an athletic supporter. Boy, you saw that coming a mile away, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I mean, if the IOC isn't looking out for the athletes, isn't that the whole point of the Olympics?
Really, who is, right? Yeah. Because they're supposed to be... whatever. The way I see this is it's become commercialized anyway, and so I don't know. The Olympic rings in Paris are going to be highlighted over at this Business Insider article. I guess I can't really argue about this, right? They're basically making a claim that the IOC isn't doing enough. Toyota will reportedly end its $835 million sponsorship with the IOC. I mean,
that's kind of a big deal, right? Which makes you wonder what they're failing at. That doesn't sound like they're like, oh, they're kind of supporting them, but just not quite enough.
Considering, based on what I've been hearing, people talking about the IOC basically treating itself like it's a commercial enterprise, a business of transnational borders. It encompasses a little bit of every country, and it's acting like it's a corporation, protecting its trademarks and its messaging and all of that kind of stuff like a corporation would, when it's supposed to be an international organization. Not really a business so much as because the Olympics themselves started a long time ago, and it's always persisted in some form, I would say, but it's turned into a commercial enterprise over the years.
Yeah, it started in June of 1894. It's a not-for-profit, and it's it is entirely privately funded.
Well, and by privately funded, you mean corporations that are providing all of its money, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
And donations, etc. Right. So Toyota wants to continue with the Paralympics, but IOC's rules may not allow it. Basically, they're going to burden everybody because the IOC in Toyota's interpretation, is not doing enough. We're only 2 months away from the Summer Olympics in Paris, the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, and the Games may be about to lose one of its most lucrative partners. And according to a report from Japan's Kyoto News, Toyota will end its sponsorship contract with the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, after this year's Games in Paris. And the report is this post. This article is coming out of BusinessInsider.com. Cork Gaines is the author, but it's coming from other sources as well. Japan's Kyoto News, Toyota will end its sponsorship. The report cited unidentified sources close to the matter. Toyota has declined to comment on the Kyoto article, according to media reports, which is Bloomberg and AP News. So everybody is just kind of sharing information back and forth around here. Everybody's all up in everybody around her. Anyway, at the time, Japanese media reported that it would be worth $835 million. That is a lot of Olympics. That's an Olympic-sized pool of money.
Yes, it is.
They were unhappy with how the IOC has used the money. The automaker believes the committee is not doing enough to support the athletes and promote the games. Honestly, how much have you heard about the Summer Olympics?
Almost nothing, other than there's been some interesting stories about problems in Paris, right? Like there was one with like the mosquitoes or something, and then something just kind of logistical things, but not really like marketing.
We aggregate gobs of news. We go to all of these articles throughout the day to see what might be interesting, right? The little snippet that we see.
And the Olympics have been basically MIA from the news.
And I haven't seen ads. So, Toyota sources told Kyoto that the company would like to continue sponsoring the Paralympics. The IOC, however, requires its partners to support all its events, which that seems self-enriching right there. If I want to give money only to Paralympics, I think that I should be able to support that because it aligns with my particular motives. I have a special interest in supporting Paralympics, right? Toyota is one of just 15 top sponsors as part of the Olympic Partner Program. Top is the highest level of sponsorship for the games and is limited to one per industry. So other brands include Coca-Cola, Samsung, Intel, Corona Cero, and Procter & Gamble. And there's others, of course. So they've already pulled its commercials from the delayed 2021 Olympic Games in Tokyo. And that is probably just what happened in 2021. They skipped the opening ceremonies about safety during COVID. So they obviously are paying attention to what's going on. So maybe they are correct. And somebody needs to look at the IOC. And
interesting.
Didn't this happen previously? Wasn't there some problems with the IOC before?
I don't know. There's always stories like after the Olympics is held at some site, like how many gobs of millions of dollars the cities paid to host the Olympics, or the things like where they shield the local issues from view from the tourists, right? We've seen stuff like that.
Yeah, there was something. Seemed like I'm reading it right now from The Nation about Paris Olympics are developing a familiar stench because it smacks of the Rio Olympics, where apparently their former president of Brazil's Olympic Committee, Carlos Arthur Newsman, was sentenced in 2021 to more than 30 years in prison for being convicted on a range of charges of corruption, money laundering, etc. This is before, I guess, the Rio Olympics. So I don't know what all of the ties are, but it pulled up this article from The Nation. I didn't look at the rest of the article, but for whatever reason, I think that there's always been these issues either right before and they kind of, oh, it's okay, and or after, and you find out, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is what's going on. So I don't know. Maybe Toyota has it right, and we'll find out after the Olympics because somebody will do a little deeper dive.
Well, the timing is interesting because I think the Olympics is in July, so I'm sure this caused a complete tailspin.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you know what? I did forget to do something, but I'll do it. Hold on. Let's do it. Post haste. I can actually do it right now. I might as well. So, oops. I'm going to do this real quick while we do this show. 1 second. I might as well. So,
well, it'll be interesting to see if the other sponsors, like the other top sponsors, follow suit. If so, it could cause a complete implosion of the Olympics.
Yeah, and I guess we'll find out, but we won't find out until after the fact. Okay.
Well, I think we'll find out in the next few weeks.
I'm going to see if this breaks the chat. Oh, no. I guess it worked. Oh. Just so you all know, I've bot ohmTown over on twitch.tv/ohmTown has the ability to post all of the links that we're going to be talking about. Those are now in the chat. It may look a little quirky the way that it was posted, but all of the titles match up with a link. You can follow the links as we go through the articles. I'll correct it in post after the show so that if you want to, you can pull the show notes. All you have to do is type in !show notes. That'll give you the commands that you can use to pull down individual shows show notes. For ohmTown Daily News Show, it's !ODNS, and you'll get all of the links, just like what I just did. If you want to download all of the podcasts, you just hit !pod, and that'll pull up all of the podcast links over to from Apple, but you can catch ohmTown in all places pod with your pod catcher. So go catch some pod. I like saying that. That's fun. Anyway, yeah, we'll keep our ears out for this and talk about it as it presents itself. This next article, though, is over in ohmTown Daily. Mexico City could run out of water in a month unless it rains. We've actually been watching this and talking about it periodically, that there have been these water shortages. And it's getting so hot in Mexico and basically in the region, all the way down into South America, so Central America, south of the United States. It's all getting so hot that animals are falling out of the trees. And things are drying up. And it's unseasonably warm, and even though the waters are warmer than usual, and it's going to lead to ever more powerful storms, Cat 5 hurricanes and whatnot. So Mexico City could run out of drinking water by June 26th, an event locals call Day Zero. 3 years of low rainfall and high temperatures have worsened the city's water crisis. The Cutzamala water system, which provides water to millions, operates now at 28% capacity. Now, we've seen this before in other areas, and then it rains, but that isn't a cure. That is delaying the ever encroaching problem, which is climate change, anthropomorphic climate change, human created climate change. Experts say that Mexico City could run out of water by the end of June, next month.
I mean, the fact that they have a specific date where this could happen means it's probably based on some real data and not just some wild idea that this could occur. And that's pretty concerning.
Yeah. Kenneth Nehmeyer over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. This Day Zero is probably based on a trend analysis of consumption and watching that 28% capacity slowly get, it was 34 6 months ago, and it's accelerating until it's dehydrated. Day zero
I
is
mean, I hope
ominous,
they're making, yeah,
you know, because the way that it sounds is like a zombie infection. And then all
exactly.
hell. Day zero is when everything dries up. Day one is when everything goes absolutely batshit crazy and people start charging into, public spaces and trying to get water. And yeah, it's going to get messy. This is all coming, apparently, this day zero comment is actually coming from Mexico Business News. The federal district containing Mexico City as severe on April 30th. They call North American Drought Monitor classified that district as severe.
I mean, I hope that they are taking immediate measures to limit all discretionary water use, right? Like not sprinkling lawns or whatever. Because, I mean, the fact that they're a month out is pretty bad.
And what's really interesting is they're calling out something like crumbling infrastructure is also contributing to the problem. About 40% of Mexico City's water is lost to leaky pipes and other issues.
Oh, that's right. I think we heard that when we were previously featuring this, which is just astounding. Like maybe they can do some emergency repairs or something.
The study found that only 75% of farms in the area used irrigated water, and most do not reuse the water when they can. Still, the study's plan would cost an estimated $5 billion because they've got a plan. They just need to dedicate the money to it. And the people and the person, they have to dedicate the system to implementing this problem or the solution. As part of the action, the Mexico City water system included a plan to improve infrastructure reliability, strengthen its programs for private company participation in the water network, and harvest rainwater in schools, the agency said. I don't know. Are they going to be able to resolve this within 30 days? For crying out loud, day zero is a month away.
No, I mean, that's why I think they have to take some immediate measures, at least, like reduce the usage. But could they repair, I don't know, the largest pipe or something? And because 40% loss is pretty significant.
I mean, at least get some of it moving each day, more than one part of it. But
Right, right.
if you're losing 40% of 28% of the capacity, for crying out loud, you're almost operating at 14% because you're losing so much already.
Exactly.
Unless what they're saying is it's actually at 56%, and because it's losing 40%, it's down to 28%. I know, it's a lot of math on a holiday Monday, right? Let's keep going.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if Mexico City could handle a shock such as no water flowing in the city. It's a massive amount of people, 22 million people plus. Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, I wasn't even factoring in I know the population is factored into these calculations, but like it's a bad thing if anybody's without water, but millions of people?
Yeah, it's going to be a crisis. It's already a crisis. It's going to be a, manifestation of hell if this actually comes true. The next article, though, is over in Technology Today. Sav RX discloses a data breach impacting 2.8 million Americans. Prescription management company Sav RX is warning over 2.8 million people in the United States that it suffered a data breach, stating that their personal information was stolen in a 2023 cyber attack. Bill Toole is over at bleepingcomputer.com, one of the sources that I use for more forensic level breakdown of what goes on with cybersecurity matters. They usually have a very deep dive into the news that they report. I don't know if this one will be like that, but it says on Friday the company notified the Maine Attorney General's office of a cybersecurity incident in October of 2023 that exposed the data of 2.8 million people.
I mean, the best kind of data to be hacked is certainly health information.
Yeah, you want your medical information exposed. You don't want Mayor Watt exposing himself on the internet. Our information technology systems, IT system, which is kind of, I don't know, no shit news at 8:22, were restored the next business day and prescriptions were shipped on time without delay. The impact on its business operations were kept to a minimum with no delays in the shipment of medical, prescription, or pharmacy claims. While their systems were restored in a day, investigation whether personal data was stolen took much longer. Here, and that basically what they've done is what I would do, which is take everything that was breached offline and bring online the stuff that is supposedly known secure. But you have to do certain patches and block whatever it was that caused an issue. If you were actually breached, somebody has access, and you didn't go in and harden your system post-breach, the new system that you're going to be implementing, you have the same flaws. So if you don't even know how they got in there and what they've taken, you have no idea the full expanse, breadth and width of the breadth and depth of the breach. So according to the data breach notification, their investigation took almost 8 months and was completed April 30th, 2024 with the help of third-party experts. But during this time, their restored business processes could have been breached again anyway, and they don't know if it's a persistent threat. It would be interesting to know what and how they actually got in. They learned that an unauthorized third party was able to access certain non-clinical systems and obtained files that contained personal information. Full name, date of birth, social security number. This is identity theft stuff. Email address, physical address, phone number, eligibility data, insurance identification number. So they could do insurance fraud. They can do personal identity theft. They can open up credit card accounts. Yeah.
I mean, they can pretty much do anything, right, with that level of data.
Yeah, and to a point, they could probably obtain other people's information by way of utilizing this through social networks. Like, I could call up somebody and pretend to be somebody, and because I know their date of birth, I know their social security number and their current email address and all kinds of stuff, I might be able to insinuate myself into the confidence of whoever it is I'm talking to on a phone, and they may circumvent security because I know so much. Well, they had all of this personally identifiable information. So of course I was going to help them because they verified every question that I had to ask. Well, you can't do that. So among new security measures Sav RX implemented in response to this incident is setting up a 24/7 security operations center. That's a SOC. Implementing multi-factor authentication on critical accounts, network segmentation, enhanced geo-blocking, upgraded firewalls and switches, strengthened Linux security, and BitLocker encryption. That one is interesting. Strengthened Linux security implies that they had a compromised Linux system. Otherwise, you wouldn't ever
exactly.
say it.
Like, why? It's interesting that they would even divulge that.
Yeah. So, and they're actually telling people what they've got behind their firewall in terms of system. Although that's low-hanging fruit. Once you're in a network, you can gather that telemetry anyway. Though the firm currently has no evidence that the stolen information was misused or disseminated on the dark web, it enclosed instructions in the letters on enrolling into your credit monitoring and identity theft service. So good on them. There's a lot more to this article over at Bleeping Computer that Bill Toulis put together. So definitely follow that link. It's the second link for today's stories. You want to keep going?
Sure.
The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Nationwide water recall update as FDA issues level of concern. The FDA announced a change to its previous recall of Fiji water bottles this month. Let's go over and take a look at this.
I don't know about you, but I think I missed the water bottle recall to begin with.
This may have actually slipped by. We don't talk about every we don't do a PSA every episode because we would probably
We
have nothing
couldn't.
but.
There's too many of them.
I could probably do a PSA kind of channel, but I don't know. Nobody wants to doom and gloom TV. Actually, there's several streamers that do that
Some
kind of
people
stuff.
do. But...
Oh. Let me talk about this for a second. So, back a decade ago, Facebook did a trial in emotional contagion and contaminated the newsfeed, adulterated the news feeds for people. So 750,000 people, I think it was, at least 700,000 people, half of which got positive news and the other half got negative news. And those who got negative news acted negatively on the site because they didn't track them off the site. And positive news people acted positively. So we know that we were impacted by the level of emotionality in our news, positive versus negative. Well, I come to hear that over on TikTok, depending on what gender you were perceived as, you got emotionally and psychologically reinforcing, ideologically aligned comments. And this was talked about over on Reddit.
That is just outrageous.
I didn't grab any links. I didn't go looking for this through ohmTown. So I don't know if maybe articles are popping up in ohmTown, but I think in the next day this will probably show up somewhere. But the way that it went was, and the reason why I'm saying this is this, well, let me just get it out, because the reason why I'm saying this is if you want to sit there and talk about bad news all the time, you're going to emotionally impact people. Now, life has its ups and downs.
And maybe yourself too.
Yeah. And you can't just delude yourself by getting nothing but positive news. You have to cope with the realities of life, and some of it's good, some of it's bad. But this was surreal because somebody posted about their boyfriend showing up hours late to a date. And another woman saw that post, and there was all kinds of stuff that was basically saying this is a red flag and blah, blah, blah. And then that woman that was looking at the TikTok post sent it to her boyfriend, and the boyfriend had a completely different set of responses, basically saying what the Sigma male would be getting. Don't worry about that woman, you live your life, all of that kind of stuff. Completely at odds with open communication and adulting. And yeah, I mean, it was just so surreal to hear this. So now I'm going to go and pay attention to this because no wonder we are at odds when people are sitting there getting their information manipulated so that you are in trouble and strife and lacking adult communication. Because who wants to sit there and argue with somebody whose perception is constantly being reinforced that the male basically treats every other person as something lesser, and every woman has to be acquiescent to the ways of the male? It was just so absurd. This is where we need
that banner.
Blink, 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 soapbox. So, and it has nothing to do with this article. I'm just saying that I don't want to keep on talking about bad news, but that's why we're talking about it here. Anyway, associative thinking is the way that I operate, so deal with it, I guess. Anyway, Matthew Impelli over at Newsweek.com put this article together. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has issued an update regarding a previous recall for water bottles sold nationwide. In March, FDA announced a recall of over 70,000 cases of Fiji National Artisan Water, natural, artesian water. I'll get it right one of these days. Anyway, there was a recall of over 70,000 cases of Fiji natural artesian water bottles over concerns that they were contaminated with manganese. We actually talked about this back in March. Firm testing revealed manganese in addition to 3 bacterial genera. So this was contaminated water and wasn't purified, which But however, FDA issued an update last week, which lowered the classification of the water bottle recall to Class 3. So it's a situation in which use of exposure to a volatile product is not likely to cause adverse health consequences. But if you're immunocompromised, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't be taking your chances.
Yeah. I would probably go and I'd return it. Oh my gosh, what is going on?
Assuming you didn't already drink it.
Yeah, exactly. So go and check it out. It says on the website formerly known as Twitter, Fiji responded to questions regarding the recall in March and said, "We learned of a quality issue affecting select Fiji water 500 milliliter 24-pack cases with PRD dates of November 11th, 2023, all the way up to November 25th, 2023. Sold through Amazon.com. Wow. Okay. So,
Not good. I mean, that's a major brand too.
Yeah. So go and look.
It doesn't mean that they're any better or worse, but if a major brand can have that happen, probably anybody can.
Wow, this is pretty diminishing, right? CDC states exposure to excess levels of manganese may occur from breathing air, particularly where manganese is used in manufacturing, and from drinking water and eating food. At high levels, it can cause damage to the brain. But then apparently
But then it's like not of concern.
Yeah. I'd be a little more worried about it. All right, let's keep going though. The next article is over in Technology Today. Earth scientists uncover an explosive new type of volcanic eruption at Kilauea. The Kilauea volcano erupted like a stomp rocket in 2018, new research shows, is what it says in this article's snippet. While no two volcanic eruptions are exactly alike, scientists are discovering this new type of eruption. From the University of Oregon, and this is posted over at scitechdaily.com. By analyzing the dynamics of 12 back-to-back explosions that happened in 2018, researchers describe a new type of volcanic eruption mechanism. The explosions were driven by sudden pressure increases as the ground collapsed, which blasted plumes of rock fragments and hot gas into the air, much like a classic stomp rocket toy. If you've never heard of that, it's basically a plunger, and then there's a tube that leads to a little mini tower that holds a rocket on a plastic tube, that when you stomp on that little sponge-like item a few feet away, it just compresses air and shoots the rocket up into the air, right? Seems simple enough. Well, when it's a volcano,
it might not be so calm or
yeah, it's shooting
or simple.
It's shooting car-size blobs of molten rock in the air. Researchers from University of Oregon and the United States Geological Survey and China's Sichuan University report their findings in a paper published today, May 27th, in Nature Geoscience. So I didn't realize just how big Kilauea's volcanic area
well, is it one of those where it's like the whole size of the island or something?
It is. I mean, the whole island chain is basically spawned from this. So the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, part of the U.S. Geological Survey, keeps close tabs on Kilauea. The volcano is covered with scientific instruments, from ground sensors and measure the shaking of the earth to tools that analyze gases released from the volcano. And there's 24-hour recordings from various venues. You can actually see a lot of this from USGS over on YouTube.com. I think they now refer to it as like EduTube or ScienceTube. If you just do a search for USGS, you'll pull up their channel.
Well, they got very well known, right, during previous eruptions.
Yeah,
because they were doing regular briefings.
Yep. And then when what was it? The Linnea, I think it is. Is that what the eruption that wasn't Kilauea's eruption, but that one area, that residential area that was off to the side of Kilauea, that is the area where they really got attention, because it was all being recorded and tracked and reported out. So
I'm trying to find what that was, but I can't seem to find the look. Leilani Estates, maybe?
Leilani Estates, yeah, that was the region where USGS was reporting a lot of stuff out of it in real time, and YouTube really, like, everybody just started paying attention to it. Plus, a lot of activity now over on Kilauea has shown like it's just nonstop right now. So it's really interesting to see what's going on. Because paths and stuff like that are gone, and it's lifted up and then settled back down, and just constant little activities. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, they're describing this as the stomp rocket mechanism, which you can imagine if there is this big dome that's filling with gas and then the dome collapses, where does all that gas go? Well, the path of least resistance, like water, it just shoots straight out of the top, along with all the molten rock. And it looks like that. Hot mess, literally. Hey, let's keep going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. How many charging stations would you need to totally replace gas stations? The United States could fully transition to electric vehicles in about 20 years, and when that happens, we're going to need a lot of chargers.
Well, as you would say, why not convert the gas stations?
Yeah, to fast swap battery stations, not charging stations. Charging stations are going to take up too much space. You have to sit there and plug your damn car in. What you need is a fast swap a fast swap battery technology that changes the structure of the vehicle chassis manufacturing process, that allows a person to pull into a charging or a fast swap stop, just like a gas station. And from underneath, a battery pack is pulled off, a new one is put on, and off you go. 5 minutes, bam, you get charged for the replacement time it costs and the cost associated with the battery pack. And just like gasoline, there are other trucks that are driving these battery packs around, like rented vehicles, right? When too many rented vehicles end up in one place, they package them all up on car trailers and they drive them back to some other location for redistribution. That's what you can do with these battery packs. But nobody pays for a battery pack when they buy a car. You are automatically, just like you don't buy gasoline when you buy a new car. You buy a car and then you go fill it up with gas. They may throw it in, but it's just to get your ass off the lot. Go, go, go. Thank you for your money. But cars would be $5,000 to $12,000 cheaper without that battery being a liability, because that liability is going to persist, ever losing value every year, 2% in charge alone. It is a massive inconvenience and a burden for somebody that buys it later, and the environment, because somebody's just going to throw it into a landfill and buy a new battery and put it in place. All kinds of nightmare here, except if you have fast swap battery tech, where you just slide a new battery in, lock it down, and off you go. Make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense, but we can't seem to figure this out.
Yeah. So Aaron Marshall over at Wired.com, I think I'm pronouncing their first name properly. The United States could fully transition to electric vehicles in about 20 years is the deck statement. So we're going to need a lot of chargers. But chargers, again, take a football field worth of space and you have to sit there for 30 minutes plus. No, nobody sits at a gas station for that long unless they're going in, and then there's parking strips they can park. Not in the stalls. So you don't need all of this, and the massive amount of cabling needed to support this, it's absurd. So they talk about, as a result of the early efforts to make the switch to EVs, the US currently has 188,600 public and private charging ports and 68,000 charging stations, according to data collected by the US DOE. Compare that to today's gas infrastructure. The country has about 145,000 gas fueling stations according to the American Petroleum Institute. So at Wired, the whole situation got them interested in a thought experiment. If we could magically snap our fingers and turn every auto electric, how many charging stations would you need? Really? Public chargers? Am I reading that right?
More than 1 million?
More than 1 million. Yeah. So let's see.
Seems like a lot. I don't know how many are in existence now.
Let's see here. Number of chargers, home, work, public charging, 134,146,606 chargers. An estimate of the Cultura shows where and how U.S. electric vehicle drivers might charge in a world without gas-powered cars.
So they don't necessarily have those now. Right. Some of them do, but probably a lot do not.
Yeah, this is in the future. And I think they actually mentioned what I'm talking about. Emphasis on currently, says Barzilli. Predicting the future is hard stuff, and he says we're unsure about what type of tech will be available whenever full electrification hits. It may be that by the time that the whole nation is driving EVs, today's top-of-the-line fast chargers, which can get a vehicle from no charge to 80% in around 20 minutes, will have been topped by an even faster, more efficient standard. In that case, the country would be in an even better place than we thought. But I don't think this is saying just public chargers, right? The future without gas. For every vehicle on U.S. roads to be electric, there would need to be 6 times as many public chargers as there are today. So, yeah, over 1 million.
That doesn't seem like enough, though, does it? Because a lot of people are not driving EVs right now.
Right. Yeah. So, but they're saying, yeah, for every vehicle on the U.S. roads to be electric. But I don't think that 1 million would be enough. They say the country has about 145,000 gas fueling stations. But that can't be right. That has to be gas stations, right?
It is.
But gas stations have
multiple pumps, right?
Yeah.
So when they're talking about, that's another question, when they're talking about charging stations, are they talking about an individual spot for one vehicle? Which I thought they were, but a gas station, of course, has multiple spots.
Right. So the most current number that I see right now is one that says that there's just shy of 200,000 gas stations. Hold on. Let's see. How many gas pumps are there in the United States? It's around 900,000 to 1.8 million pumps. So, and that's right now, right? When last measured, there were in 2020, 150,000 gas stations operated in the U.S. serviced 276 million cars. While statistics don't exist for the number of pumps, the estimation is 6 to 12, or around 900 to 1.8 million pumps, or 153 to 307 cars per pump. But again, you get in and out. You're out in 5 minutes. That's why you can have that ratio. You can't have that ratio with EVs. And you can't sit there and go, well, we know that in 20 years it's going to be so da-da-da. No, that's not how it works.
Well, they don't know, for one thing, and that was one thing the article pointed out.
Yeah.
Right? They don't really know what the future looks like.
Yeah, and so this would be more accurate. You would need at home, work, and in public spaces. This is not even close. Public charging, 1 million public charges? No, you already have 2 million on the high side of gas pumps. That's how many you need for public charging. Individual spots, good luck. The amount of space is tremendous. Okay, let's keep going though. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. 7 remote and hybrid companies that will pay you for your vacation, and they're all hiring. Some companies are handing out four-figure budgets for employees to go see the world. Others are offering flights or hotel credits. The article is over at cnbc.com. I rarely show these type of articles because when I start pulling back the layers of the onion, I just cry. So Morgan Smith, the wordsmith M, I guess, right? Is there? Yeah, the wordsmith M. So Morgan Smith, the wordsmith M. I guess they wanted to shorten it instead of saying the wordsmith Morgan. Anyway, a majority, 78% of U.S. workers say they don't use all of their paid time off, according to a Harris poll, 1,170 American workers, which is pittance in terms of the people. People cited busy schedules, heavy workloads, persistent pressure to always be available. And the biggest impediments...
Wait, isn't that all jobs everywhere?
Yeah, it seems like it more and more, but maybe not. I don't know. Everybody needs to learn to say no, really, but it's hard because you want food on the table and you don't want to be perceived as not being a team player and blah, blah, blah. Still, paid time off is sought after benefit among U.S. workers, with 48% saying they would rather have more paid time off than higher salary. Yeah. So to stave off burnout and improve employee retention, some companies, many of which are in the travel industry, are handing out four-figure stipends to employees to go. Get out, touch grass. So Hopper, every employee gets $200 of carrot cash per year to use towards booking a trip in the Hopper app, which apparently is a travel industry app, Bamboo HR. You get $2,000 annual stipend to cover travel expenses like plane tickets and hotel rooms. That's pretty amazing, actually. At least
I know.
when you're not in the like software or tech industry, where they try back in the day, I don't know what they do nowadays. I stopped paying attention to this. I should. It may have remained the same so long that I just kind of treated it as this is how it is. But it used to be that you get everything you want from, and I know from experience, there, like, people would be called in to do massages and haircuts and shaves, and you could have your clothes pressed and just all kinds of stuff while you're in the office. Food brought in, catering, parties, barbecues, all kinds of stuff.
I mean, I guess that's all like, let's keep you on site and let you work all kinds of hours, but then you can't have any excuses why you would need to leave.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it was. Room set aside that you could crash and then, take a nap and then come back out and get back to work. And 100-hour work weeks were not unheard of at all by any stretch, usually longer. And so you could spend 3 days a week doing nothing but work, mainly because you were passionate about it and really into it. So, but then it's completely like thankless job. While you may be making 6 digits, at the end of the day, if they need more runway, your ass is fired. So then there's Kindred. Employees receive a quarterly $1,000 travel stipend to use toward airfare or gas on trips. And it is another travel industry, healthcare industry, 30 Madison, $750 vacation stipend, which really, I don't know. I don't want the stipend. What I want is the time. The stipend, though, I guess I'd rather have more time than the cash.
Yeah, you can't get more time.
You can't get more time, but I can make on a side gig $750. That's not really a big deal. TripAdvisor, TripAdvisor is more travel, but their back end is tech driven. So it says TripAdvisor reimburses employees for personal travel as part of its global lifestyle benefit. The amount paid out for eligible services and products is based on years of service, so it scales, and they actually reported about it, CNBC. Back in 2022, 10 companies helped pay their employees for vacation. Mountain, or MNTN, $2,000 vacation stipend, and then CASA. You get up to $2,000 in annual lodging credits to stay at any rental property in CASA's catalog. That's pretty badass.
I mean, all of these sound like pretty good benefits, assuming they're competitive on other things.
Yep. Yeah. If you're interested in this, there is always more within this article. We kind of go over it really quick and give you some of the highlights. But if you want the minutia of it, please go over and follow the rest of this. We give a little bit of anecdote from our experiences and maybe some other ways to see this. This one, I fought the urge to tear it apart because does this apply for everybody? Is it really without undue burden? Only some people. It says every employee gets a 200 carat cash. That's pretty amazing. How many people are actually in this company? I don't know. I could probably find something to tear it apart, but all of this is benefit. I hope that everybody is well respected and they get their paid time off. There isn't any stress or undue burden to work harder. Um, but it always seems like that's exactly what companies do. They just push and push and push. Let's keep
Well, and
going
then
though.
you hear about companies that have like unlimited time off, but then there's so much pressure
Yeah, you don't
not to
take it.
use it, depending on the company culture. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Or, you plan having a kid around the fiscal year so that you don't negatively impact the organization. Anyway, the next article is
I mean,
over in Four Wheel Tech. Rhode Island is asking car owners to turn in their registration. This is really interesting. I don't know, Sentient AI, did you submit this because Mayor Watt wants a Kai?
well, that's why it caught my attention, but it was submitted because I couldn't remember another article where a state is kind of like, no,
Oops.
you're not going to register this. Like, I just thought it was really interesting, but the Kai piece is what caught my attention.
So, as far as I know, Kai trucks aren't even allowed to be registered in the United States.
Well, I don't think that's accurate because I did glance at this article.
Because I thought that I had talked about it and we had looked at it, and they're not allowed. They're not even allowed to be registered as like they can only be used on a farm. They're not allowed to
Well,
be
and
on
I don't
any.
know if this gets into that level of nuance, but I
Uh,
didn't read the whole thing. I just
uh,
glanced at it.
okay, so Ronan Glon over at autoblog.com put the article together, and it says that there's about 30 Kai trucks in the state. See, Mayor Watt wants one of these things. And I actually, it's because they're so small, and I have this thing for tiny little boxy vehicles. Um, I don't know why. I'm weird, but anyway, there are about 30 of these cars in Rhode Island, according to DMV records. The lawmakers want to take them all off the road. See, if you get hit and you're in one of these things, you're going to be buried in the ground in the glove box because they're not going to be able to extricate you from the bundle of metal that remains. Um, DMV Administrator Walter Craddock argued that Kai cars should be banned from driving on the Ocean State's roads because they were never manufactured in compliance with federal motor vehicle safety standards. Federal law allows any vehicles that are at least 25 years old to be legally imported into the United States, but each state has the power to decide what motorists are and aren't allowed to drive on its roads. Except that I suppose roads. See, we have a national highway system that bisects all of the states. So, do I have to get out of my? Well, you're gonna have to get out of your Cybertruck anyway if you want to go into
Well, especially if you want to wash your car.
Wyoming. But am I gonna have to pull this thing over and not go into Rhode Island if it's legal in one state but not in Rhode Island? I guess you
I
just
don't
can't
think
register,
so.
right?
You just can't register it, so you better live out of state.
Oh no, I have to move. I'm sorry.
Like
Right?
move like a mile over the state line or whatever.
Yeah, your significant other can live in Rhode Island, but you're gonna have to live in some other state. Sorry, can't be together. I really love my car. Although the registration would remain valid, it wouldn't be transferable. Driving a Kai car would be legal. Selling one in state wouldn't. It's kind of like the distillery thing that I keep talking about. You know?
Oh, right. Where it's like you can only do one side of the transaction.
Yeah. And because you can only do one side of the transaction, somebody is performing an illegal.
Always at fault.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and the way that it works is it may be legal for you to sell it, but I know that it's illegal for you to sell it to me. And so I'm guilty no matter what. I'm guilty of possession. I'm guilty of inducing you, enticing you to sell your car into an illegal transaction of which I'm the only one that's really an illegal participant. Owners wouldn't be allowed to take the Kai car on limited access highways, state highways, or through highways. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I was saying. For context, you can go faster than 35 miles on a 125cc Honda Super Cub moped, but you can't go that fast in one of these Kai cars because it has a speed limit of more than the road has a speed limit of 35 miles per hour, so you can't even go on that. And this is what I was saying.
But that's what they're saying for future, not for current.
Right. All they're going to do is implement this, and then all of them are going to be illegal to be driven on limited highways. But what if I go from out of state through the state? It's illegal.
Well, I mean, when you're in the state roads, right, you're subject to the state laws, but of course nobody's going to know about them.
Tell me about it. I'm looking at one state in particular. Anyway, enthusiasts in other states are facing similarly steep uphill battle. Maine began deregistering Mitsubishi Delica vans in 2021. It's not a Kai car, but it's a Japanese market model that wasn't developed with American regulations in mind. This is the reason why, like Mini modified, because I think it saw the writing on the wall. If I want to stay in, persistent in U.S. Vehicle space, I'm going to have to take some roids and get a little thick in the caboose. Because it would be probably qualified as a Kai car. The original Minis are really diminutive, but now they're not. You could probably put two Minis in old school Minis in one modern 2024 or 2025 Mini because they got swole. So, yep, I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that it already existed like this to some degree. But there have been so much hype talking about these Kai cars that, lo and behold, I lose my dream. We can't have nice things because they're paper mache. I mean, you get hit and you better hope that you get ejected from it because that's probably what's going to save your life.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let's keep going. This is Ohio man is looking to get the gold in Florida man behavior. It's over on ohmTown Daily. Ohio man plans to take a 2-person submersible to Titanic depths. That's almost ironic. To show the industry is safe after OceanGate tragedy. If you've never heard of OceanGate, basically it's a submersible that had a bunch of well-to-do people and it imploded. And that's the nuts and bolts of it. But now, because people just, it's not any safer.
Because there's people sometimes with too much money and they're like, oh, we're going to do this. I mean, I do believe in like innovating and all of that, but.
Right. I agree, but you don't do it. Okay. Well, I mean, it has to be regulated from now on. It has to have subject matter experts that go beyond just somebody's backyard, and wetting their finger and sticking it up in the air to see which way the wind is blowing. Submersible imploded as it descended to view the wreck of the Titanic last year, and now this guy's going to go and look at the wreck of the OceanGate next to the Titanic. All 5 passengers on board the OceanGate vessel were killed in the incident. 2 new people are now planning a trip in a new submersible to prove the industry is safe. The Ohio real estate investor is planning to take a 2-person submersible down, which is a submarine for crying out loud, down to Titanic level depths to prove that the journey can be carried out safely following the Titan sub implosion last year. Now I have no problem with somebody doing this as long as it's safe and deemed safe by a plurality of subject matter experts. Do I have a problem with it? Because, well, the problem is other people are going to sit there and take this. Oh, look, he did it. I can do it too. But you don't have the resources or capabilities to make this actually happen. And if it happens again, that's when you're going to get this like whiplash type of response from federal oversight, where submersibles aren't allowed in any capacity, and it's just going to be a whole lot more regulatory oversight. And somebody else is going to lose their life because they've been talked into being a little bit over exuberant.
That's the problem with this. I mean, that's what happened on the last mission. And, it'd be one thing if this person wants to do it and they're not going to bring anybody else with them. But it's not just about that. It's also about the rescue operation if it goes awry.
Yeah. But I know that there are a lot of people out there who are like, well, they can do whatever they want. It's their lives and da-da-da. But, sure. I guess so. But when things are researched and developed, the technology that goes into it and the research that goes into it, it's very expensive. It's time and labor where you prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. This started out as OceanGate started out, the Titan started out as a one-person project that grew into a multitude of people, and then they end up with 5 people in it, everybody saying it's safe, and then it implodes. I don't want that to happen again, but it's not on me. What somebody does with their money, but it's just a shame. Sinead Baker over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together, and it says they're basically just reporting that 2 people are going to be doing it again. Larry Connor told the Wall Street Journal, "I want to show people worldwide that while the ocean is extremely powerful, it can be wonderful and enjoyable and really kind of life-changing if you go about it the right way." Yeah, it can be. Apparently, it can also be life-changing if you go about it what you think is the right way, but a pinprick hole causes it to implode. That's all.
And isn't this the same? It's the same manufacturer, correct, from the previous incident?
Oh, I don't know. Is it really? Hold on. Because the original what they say the Titan was a contraption. It was a contraption. It was the word that I was going to use. That was built by OceanGate. It was that person's company.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what they're actually doing. Connor, who has previously been to the Mariana Trench, the deepest oceanic trench on Earth, said they plan to do the journey in a 2-person vessel called the Triton, which is really close to Titan. 4000/2 Abyssal Explorer named 4000 for the depth in meters it can reach. He did not say when the trip will take place. Yeah. Leahy is one of many industry figures who criticized OceanGate before and after the disaster, accusing it of questionable safety standards. Well, I hope that they don't do anything stupid. I mean, it was just, they talk about catastrophic whatever from the Titan. So
and I'm sorry, maybe I just had the names mixed up because I thought it was actually the same one, but maybe I was getting it confused with Titan.
Yeah, no worries. Let's go on to our last article. It's over in ohmTown Daily. The FBI is looking at whether stolen items from the British Museum ended up in the hands of U.S. eBay buyers. I would be so upset if I paid for something, but I guess they're tracing all of this. But they still haven't charged that person, so I don't understand.
No. I mean, it's like they're accusing the person very publicly.
Yeah.
But I think it was the curator, but they don't, why haven't they acted on it?
Yeah, exactly. The FBI is helping investigate stolen items from the British Museum per the BBC. It's investigating if items from the museum were sold to U.S. buyers. The London Museum is one of the biggest in the world, but since last year has been a subject to unwanted worldwide attention after one of the curators of an area of the British Museum was accused of pilfering and selling a plethora of museum pieces, museum grade pieces. And like we've been saying, they're accusing the person by name very publicly, but they haven't charged them publicly. They haven't actually imprisoned them or brought them to trial. I'm kind of shocked by that here in the States. Sinead Baker, again, over at Business Insider, put the article together. This includes items bought off eBay that may have come from the museum's collection. So there were proxies, or that person was selling them on eBay.
Well, and so again, it should be kind of easy to determine who had the account. Where were they shipping the things from? Where was the bank account?
A person bought 2 gems on the platform from New Orleans. And the FBI is contacting individuals who bought these items. I'm stunned. I mean, wouldn't at this time you already have enough evidence to at least publicly charge that curator?
You would think so. Let me see.
They were listed at low prices. Items worth around $63,000 were listed as little as $50, it said. 268 items that were sold to a Washington, D.C. collector on eBay, which the museum says belonged to it. Items may also have been sold to people in other countries, the BBC reported. Oof, can you imagine? Like, if I bought a stone from eBay and I cut it into a cabochon and set it into a ring or a necklace or something, I've modified a British Museum stone because I thought I was buying something in good faith.
Exactly. That would be pretty horrendous. But this is also interesting because is this, I can't think what the word is, but basically a recreation of the name, right? Paul Higgins is kind of similar to Peter Higgs.
Yep.
Kind of.
Yep.
But it looks like there is not a statute of limitations on many criminal offenses in the UK, which could explain why this is just kind of
idling there,
taking time.
But see,
now I don't know if this one has one, but just in general.
Now, statute of limitations is fine. Go after them, but they've already named this person publicly, so they could never get a job.
I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're watching to see if they take any more actions related to this, so they have more. It's interesting. I think it's not the normal approach.
3 buyers said that an eBay seller with the username sold in 1966 used the names Paul Higgins or Paul when they communicated via email.
I would like to know when Peter Higgs was born. Let me think. Was it 1966?
Let's see.
I mean, that doesn't mean that it's him, but it's at least an indicator.
Oh, let's see here. I don't know. Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to do this live, and it's...
Well, unfortunately, there's other people in the UK that are well known with that name, so that's not helping.
56-year-old. Yikes. Okay.
Well... It'd also be interesting to know other people who had access, if any of them have names that correlate to those usernames in any way.
No. Sorry. He was 56 in 2023, August 2023. I don't know when his birth date was. So technically it could have been 66.
Exactly. I didn't know that, but I just suspected that because of the naming conventions that people use.
We just cracked the case.
Right, wouldn't that be neat if the UK police were like, and we heard it on ohmTown Daily. We figured it out.
Wow. An antiquities expert reported a suspicion that a museum staff member was stealing from secure vaults back in 2013, with missing items beginning to turn up on eBay 3 years later. Sources told the outlet that the museum had not properly cataloged all 8 million items in its collection, which made it easier for the thefts to go undetected. So all they had to do is basically go, well, it's not properly cataloged, so if it disappears, it's an accounting
Well, and
error.
who do you think was probably responsible for cataloging? I
The
mean, either
curator.
this person did it or they were set up.
Right. And brilliantly set up, because there's enough question there. Well, that's it, folks. Very interesting articles today, and it is the whole gamut of topics across ohmTown. Although it's only 10, and we have 47 active channels over at ohmTown.com. Once you become a citizen of ohmTown, you can do a whole bunch more. These little icons flip from black on white to white on black, and you get a little bit more functionality. And then once you're inside, you can actually post comments, so you can reply to things, and you can make lists, and you can basically do a bunch of stuff. But go over and find out on your own. In the meantime, be sure to follow us here on twitch.tv/ohmTown, over on YouTube, just youtube.com/ohmTown. Do a search for ohmTown on Apple Podcasts, or just search the internet and you'll find ohmTown. There might be a couple of conflicting ohmTown whatevers, but I've been gathering it for a long time, information that I've been using privately for my own use. And then back in, actually, before 2020, I brought it online for me to use, and then I subsequently 3 years ago brought it public for everybody. So now you can go over to ohmTown.com and use it just like I use it, which is for information overload management. Go and check it out. In the meantime, we're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. I am Merwat, and my co-host is the sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for ohmTown Daily. Come back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Bye-bye, everybody. I guess everybody has to return those British Museum pieces.